AMN Drive Time is sponsored by Aishin, your trusted and reliable source for aftermarket automotive components and technology. Visit AishinAftermarket.com for more information.
Ted, welcome to AMN Drive Time, sponsored by our good friends at Aishin.
Happy to be here, Bill. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
So, Ted, we've known each other measured in decades, not years, certainly not months, and we're really pleased to have you at our world headquarters here in Akron, Ohio today. A few questions, Ted, as we jump into this. It's been about a year since you joined AutoCare as the head of AWDA. How's it been? What are your thoughts after a year into it?
You know, it's unique, Bill. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to come down here and see the advancements made here at the Babcock's Media headquarters. I mean, it truly is unparalleled in terms of getting the industry what it needs. So thank you for that. Now, as for my transition, you know, when the announcement was made, I could not have been more blown away by the outpouring of support among the distributor crowd. I had some, you know, obviously coming from a whole career being a manufacturer or representing a manufacturer, how was it going to go? And from the very beginning, from our esteemed program group heads to the AWDA officers, the Board of Governors, the support has been absolutely unbelievable. You know, the word I keep hearing is family, and that's there's so much truth to that, because there's a lot of discussions, a lot of maybe sometimes disagreements, but in the end, you know, we look out for one another, and that's the greatest thing that I could ask for. You know, some of the things, everything is probably a little bit bigger than I expected it to be coming in. Certainly the challenges that we face, they may be a little bit bigger, not just within the traditional distribution area, but as an industry. You know, where they're talking about technician shortage, the vehicle data ownership and right to repair. But with that comes opportunities, and that means the opportunities are also bigger than I may have looked at before we started. And the best part about it is that within AWDA, it is some of the industry's most determined, most resilient, and quite frankly, some of the biggest collection of ingenuity that I've seen in the aftermarket. And to be associated with that and part of that is such an honor. So,
Ted, just taking a few steps back, sort of to the beginning, like maybe really from the beginning. You're a big Michigan sports fan. I'm curious if Michigan football will field a team this year, but we'll talk about that later. But you got into hockey when you were very young, 2 years old, right? Why hockey? And secondly, how did early involvement in sports influence you as you've gone through your business life?
Great question, Bill. And first of all, I want to start by saying, go blue. So that's the most important thing. I know it's in the belly of the beast down here, but I'm still going to be maize and blue proud. So why hockey? Well, I was a toddler rink rat. My older sister, Carrie, is 5 years older than me, and she was a very successful figure skater through her whole life. And so from the earliest time when, you know, she's developing her craft, I'm 1, 2 running around a rink, and all I wanted to do was play hockey. And you know, so my parents, actually my grandfather bought me a pair of skates. They shoved toilet paper in the skates because nothing was going to fit a 2-year-old's feet. And they put a stick in my hand, and out I went. And you know, I have hockey to thank for so much. So when you talk about what teams have in terms of, or what sports has taught, is the importance of teams. You know, in developing teams, Herb Brooks said about the 80 Olympic team, the Olympic hockey team, I don't need the best players, I need the right players. And I think that's really an important factor. I mean, you look at in sports today, the New York Mets. They're the highest payroll by far of any team in baseball, and before the trade deadline anyway, and they're 20 games under 500, or 20 games out of first place. You look at the Yankee teams, well known for spending money on the best players. But obviously, when you look at the championships that they've had over the last few years, which is 0, they haven't spent the money on the right players. So, back to hockey, my Detroit Red Wings, my beloved Detroit Red Wings, they've got a star shortage right now, and it's evident. You have to have stars to lead the way, but you also have to have role players and understand the people on your team that are there to really execute the plan and take the plan from here to there and in the next level. Sports teaches competition. I think it was Richard Petty that said the race to be the fastest started when the second car was made. So competition makes everybody better. And I think within the borders of AWDA, AWDA was founded 75 years ago by competitors. It'll always be comprised of competitors, that's for sure. But that competition is what drives improvement. And with that, that's really what sports has taught me. And as I said last year at the AWDA conference, winning and losing is the reason we keep score. So, it's an important thing.
Great comments. That was the greatest sports movie ever made, in my opinion. I forget the name of the USA a lot. What was the name of
Miracle.
that? Miracle. Oh, great movie, right?
Yeah, it was really a great movie.
So, Ted, you started working at Clevite in 2000, which was originally Dana's engine hard parts business before it was bought by MAHLE in 2007. How did you find Clevite, and what originally attracted you to stay at MAHLE?
Coming out of college, I graduated from college in April of 2000, and I didn't come from a car family. We didn't have a Project Hot Rod in the garage or anything like that. Like I said, it was a sports family that I grew up in, and I didn't have any idea what I was going to do. I had my marketing degree, and fortunately, through circumstances, my mother-in-law, I was married 2 years at the time, and my mother-in-law worked with Jerry McCabe's wife. And Jerry McCabe, who in my estimation is one of the greatest minds the aftermarket has ever seen. And it just so happened that they were hiring for a entry-level marketing specialist, and I sent my half-page resume and whatever, through interviews or whatever, it worked out, and I started entry-level, and I never in a million years expected I would be with one company for that long. But after a couple years, I had earned a promotion. We did a lot of realignment, a lot of restructuring within, and it was a great opportunity. And then a few years later was the Dana split and the spinoff and formation of Affinia. I stayed on the Dana side, and again, but it was like a new company moving forward. And so every few years there was changes. 2007, MAHLE acquired the business from Dana, and that was a real change. But having so many different managers throughout my career, I mean, starting with John Washbish and having the opportunity to watch John Washbish, Jerry McCabe, and Max Dull lead an organization, and how they conducted their business was amazing. And then through all of the managerial changes that I went through to John Douglas at MAHLE, and I learned a lot from John. I think he made me a better marketing person and marketing professional by some of the challenges that he gave me. But he had confidence in me every step of the way. And that confidence enabled me, I think, to do a lot of things that I could have never done. So I owe a huge debt of gratitude to all of the people that I learned from, even the ones that maybe aren't in the top one or two. You learn something from everybody you work for. And sometimes it's what to do, sometimes it's what not to do. And so, having the benefit of those great leaders throughout my career was really the reason that led me to stay. And then in the end, MAHLE's commitment to quality, the values that they represented or still represent is something that I definitely wanted to be associated with. I mean, you in a lot of ways, you're a reflection of who you work for and what you represent. And that company's commitment to quality is definitely something that I wanted to really be associated with.
So you went on to spend more than 23 years at MAHLE in executive marketing roles. Can you, maybe a tough question, can you describe one or two or three shifts in the overall business that impacted you and your team and how you guys address the market?
Yeah, I was thinking as you were asking the question, and going back 25 years in the industry, really when you look at the emergence of retail from 25 years ago, I mean, obviously, we've been around long enough to remember the real advancements that the retail side made. And now I think we're seeing the same thing in a lot of ways with e-commerce and what the e-commerce sector of the industry is doing. So I think that in a lot of ways has been game changing. Again, going back to competition, it makes everybody better. I referenced Jerry McCabe earlier. I think it was the Global Aftermarket Symposium in the early 2000s, 2002, one or two. He delivered a presentation that was called "It's All About the Data," and this was at a time for our industry that really there wasn't even a grasp of what should be coming. And I mentioned how brilliant Jerry was. One of his best qualities was his vision. And I think that in my mind, I think he's really the patriarch of category management, data management. I mean, there's whole departments of really thousands of people in our industry that really got their start, I believe, by that presentation that Jerry gave and with John Washbish. And so the technology emergence, you think about, Bill, the reduction of human touch points that's brought on by technology. I mean, one example I give is we travel a lot for work, for pleasure, whatever. And you can go from your house, you park your car, get dropped off, whatever. You've checked in online, you've got your boarding pass, you go through security, you get on the plane, you get off the plane, you go straight to your rent-a-car, and you drive to your hotel. You've checked in on your phone or at a kiosk, and you get into your room. You've not interacted with a single person except for maybe, if you count TSA, that's one, but maybe the security person leaving the rent-a-car lot. But that's it. And so every step of the way, if the rent-a-car's dirty, if the flight's delayed, if there's something that's wrong, that's when you notice it. If you have your favorites in terms of airlines or rent-a-car companies or hotel chains, if everything is absolutely perfect, you don't really notice it. It's as it should be. But the minute something goes wrong, that's where you really notice it. And so I think to an extent, it's kind of replacing relationships in our business and reducing the importance of relationships. But that's just a new way of doing business. And it goes back to that data. All of the growth and the opportunities that are out there in retail and e-commerce, and along with, again, AWDA members leading the way, comes from that commitment to data and having true and accurate data so that when a technician is in the bay or in the shop and orders the parts, that they show up exactly how they're supposed to. And there's not any of those problems. So it's just a different kind of relationship measurement and building, in my opinion. But I still believe in my heart that relationships are still extremely vital at that shop and technician level. And that's where the AWDA membership really, in my opinion, has such an advantage over anybody else that's trying to do it, because when that something goes wrong, and as I go back to the travel example, something's always going to go maybe a little less than expected. Having the opportunity to provide the service, to take a problem and make it a win, that is something that traditional distributors have done, and will continue to do better than anybody else. And that's something, again, that's really important to me.
Ted, those are terrific comments. You've mentioned Jerry a couple of times. He was ahead of his time at that conference, at the Global Symposium. At the time, everybody was like, "What are you talking about?" Right? And clearly ahead of his time. So you've been here for a year at AWDA, Ted.
Mm-hmm.
What ways is AWDA looking to serve its members, moving forward? What do you see the future looking like?
I think that, simply put, the future of AWDA and the membership is brighter than ever, to be honest with you. Sure, you can say, well, we're facing threats that we may not have faced before in different directions and maybe different flanks, whatever. But I think that through AWDA, you're going to see a stronger, dare I say, more tenacious or ferocious AWDA that is going to be better equipped to attack the opportunities that exist. Working together is something that's vitally important, and I just mentioned whatever relationships are defined as, whether it's human touch point or the relationship brought on through technology. Whatever the relationships are, the AWDA members will continue to do it better than anybody else. And so, when I say collaboration more, we just announced that HDA Truck Pride members are now part of AWDA, and that's a great thing, because when you look at the big numbers, you're talking about an industry that's $500 billion, and roughly 30% of that is brought on by heavy duty commercial vehicle. It was 2 years ago that AWDA made the monumental change from the Automotive Warehouse Distributors Association to the Aftermarket Warehouse Distributors Association. So having heavy duty, and more specifically heavy duty distributor members within the Aftermarket Warehouse Distributors Association is huge in terms of the leadership that we'll bring to the industry. So you have that. Within AWDA, we have the Manufacturers Advisory Council, and we have the Heavy Duty Advisory Council. So the Board of Governors gets direct input from both of those sides. Our suppliers and manufacturers, which are extremely valued across the board, as well as the leaders from the heavy duty side of the industry. So providing that platform for collaboration within AWDA is really the long-term focus and what's going to be successful at the end. And of course, the AWDA conference, which this year promises to be bigger than my time in the industry. You think about, some people have said, well, in terms of distribution, you've got the combined group with that meeting in the springtime. When you think about how much has changed between, March seems like forever ago to me. And that being the case, the importance of face-to-face meetings twice a year, I think, is something that everybody can agree is extremely valuable. And I think that mentality is what's bringing even AWDA members that haven't participated since the pandemic, or even before that. I think there's a realization that the one-on-one meetings that happen during the AWDA conference are more valuable and more essential than they've ever been. And when you look at it wrapped around the Apex show and the changes that are ongoing to our industry, whether you're talking about automation, electronic ADAS vehicles, e-mobility stuff. There's really a whole lot that we have to see on the horizon, and I think the Apex show gives us a chance to see that. So, in the end, what I see for AWDA is a continuation of us leading the charge in terms of advocacy. When you look at the fact that we have the most independent repair facilities as our customer base, and when you get to Washington, D.C., you get on the Hill, you get in front of lawmakers, they may recognize manufacturers, even distributors, but everybody understands when you're talking about the service center on the corner and the importance that service center means to them, because as we know, 70% of the vehicles are repaired in the independent aftermarket. So simple numbers mean that with Congress, whether it's the House of Representatives or the Senate, 70% of their vehicles, and you can say, well, when's the last time they drove? But having interacted with a few of them, there's definitely a lot more common person there than there is the Fox News or the CNN celebrity Congress people that you see. And having the ability to advocate to them the importance of our industry, bringing it back is something that AWDA it has been and will continue to be the leaders of for our industry.
Ted, we were talking briefly before we started the conversation offline about how the world is just sort of normalizing now in 2023 from COVID, and the face-to-face thing. You talked about the one-on-one meetings. You talk about it coming together at Apex. You and I were brought up in this business. There's just a heck of a lot of value in face-to-face interaction versus, Zoom is terrific, right? It's a terrific thing. We've all gotten used to it. But being face-to-face, one-on-one, whether it's here or whether it's at a trade show, whether it's at a dinner, whether it's a meeting, there's just a heck of a lot of value to it.
There is. And when you think about it, Bill, we've done so much over the last 3 years, 4 years, through Teams and Zoom and whatever platform you want to use. And I challenge anybody, and my email address is out there for the industry, ted.hughes@autocare.org. I challenge anybody to tell me that they haven't at least one time during a Zoom call or a Zoom meeting, no matter how important, looked at their phone or looked at the other monitor at an email coming in or something like that. And that's something that you don't do in a face-to-face meeting. Everybody has done it. I'm not saying that maybe some are more habitual than others, but everybody has done that. And that just speaks to the importance of undivided attention and not having the phone for any distractions and really lock in on that meeting. And that's what when I hear some people say, well, if I need to meet with a customer or I need to meet with a supplier, I can do it electronically anytime. And that's when I say, you're right, you can. But does it really? And I bring up that example, and generally it ends up with a nodding head like, you know what, you might be right a little bit there. And so that's, to your point, the importance of face-to-face meetings.
I love it when you get on a Zoom call and say there's 10 people on it, and 8 of them aren't using the video. It's just a black square, empty.
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
I thought this was a video call.
That's exactly right. And that's just, whether it's happening or not, that is just letting people think that there's not an engagement there. And once in a while you have technical difficulties, and it's understandable. You can tell they're engaged, but other times it's you leave people to think and perception is oftentimes reality, Bill, as you know.
So, Ted, it is tradition on our drive time conversations to have something we call rapid fire questions. So if you've seen any of our drive times interview, you're probably familiar with the concept.
Yes.
So I've got a few questions for you. Quick question, quick answer.
Yes, sir.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You sure?
I am.
Okay, this wasn't one of the questions
hope.
I had originally, but will Michigan field a football team this year, yes or no?
A very successful one, and your team will find out in November in Ann Arbor.
Okay. Wolverines or Spartans?
Wolverines. Go blue.
The best Red Wings player all time?
Gordie Howe, without exception.
You a morning person or a night owl?
Night owl. But COVID's brought me more morning than I used to.
What has been your favorite age so far?
Oh man, that's rapid fire. I'll say the one I'm in right now.
That's a good one. That's a good answer, right? Who's the person you text the most?
My wife.
Smart answer. What is the favorite golf course that you've played?
Oh boy, there's so many. I played a lot of bad golf on a lot of great golf courses, Bill. I will say Muirfield Village in Dublin, Ohio.
What's your favorite go-to vacation spot?
I love the Gulf Coast, Orange Beach and Gulf Shores, Alabama.
Are you a cat guy or a dog guy?
Dog guy my whole life.
Last question. After a long day of work and you're a hardworking guy, what's your go-to activity?
Golf.
Ted, great to have you on AMN Drive Time, sponsored by Aishin.
I tell you what, Bill, thanks so much for the opportunity to be here, and thanks to everybody for tuning in. It's truly a pleasure for me.
AMN Drive Time is sponsored by Aishin, your trusted and reliable source for aftermarket automotive components and technology. Visit AishinAftermarket.com for more information.